Good evening.
Good evening. How is everyone doing? This is our show on systems of failure.
Yes.
If this is your first time joining us, my name is Carl Knock.
And I'm Nicole Knock.
Yes, and we are with Around the Leaf Consulting. And tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Friday's show. We have an exciting show. We're going to be live with a audio and video owner. He owns an audio and video company, and so he has helped a lot in the nonprofit and church area, and so he's going to kind of go into kind of how he started and what really brought him to where he is today. It's going to be an exciting show. And speaking of show, that segment, every Friday we're going to be bringing you a new entrepreneur hot in this city, and so, or in this area, and so we're looking for a name.
Yes, we're trying to find a name, and we'd love to poll the audience. I mean, we're looking at entrepreneurs from the local area who have made an impact or have made a unique, basically break into their passion. Like, they followed their passion towards their goal. They're nailing it. And we want to give you that mid-level person, not necessarily the person that's over there making millions, but the mid-level person who is bringing real, honest, raw stories of inspiration and guidance. So we're looking for a name for that segment, and we'd love for you to participate in that and drop your comments or your suggestions in the comments.
Yes. Drop them in the comments, and we will be putting together kind of a list, and we'll put it to you guys to see which one everybody likes the best. So feel free to give us a name, because we're looking for a name for that segment on Friday. So, systems of failure. How this topic came about is a couple of ways. But we've been talking a lot about setbacks. We talked about yesterday. Last week we were talking about goals. And hello, Russell. And
hello.
We are talking.
Tina is there too.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Tina.
Talking about, kind of setbacks, creating power lists, feeding your goals. And so one thing that I wanted to talk about is that we can sometimes live in a pattern or a system of failure.
Yes.
And just like the same as, there are systems for success, there are also systems for failure. And that's really what this was about. And in more particularly, being able to zero in on what the causes of those failures are. And because sometimes it's easy to just get distracted by the symptoms of those failures, and we try to correct those, and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, a little segue on the systems part of it. Everybody's working a system. Everybody's, going through their particular system. Whether you see it or not, you're following a system in life. You're following a set of habits or, an A to B to C that's leading you to where you are. There are successful systems and there are unsuccessful systems. And some of those points you need to really understand that when you try to change your system, sometimes you're looking at the symptoms, like he was saying, the symptoms of the actual cause and changing that, thinking it's going to change the whole thing. So tonight we're going to be talking about a little more in depth on what that means and where it comes from.
Yeah, and where this idea, hey Nathan, welcome.
Hey Nathan.
So,
what up?
Where this came from is I was reading the book by Neil Rackman called Spin Selling. And if you're not familiar with it, go check it out. It's really good. What he does is he has a company called Hawthorne Research. I'm not exactly sure the full name, but he has a research company called Hawthorne. And what they did is they went out in the 60s and 70s and even 80s and began to research some of the sales trainings that were happening to find scientifically what works and what doesn't. So in one particular area, they had a client that brought him in, or he and his company in, and said, our sales team is having trouble with objections, handling objections. Now, if you're not familiar with the sales industry or what an objection is, hey, Jasmine, welcome. An objection is usually a delay or a pause, most times given by a buyer, that maybe they're asking about the price or a feature or a design, can I get the, something to delay making a commitment, okay, or prolong, right? So they were having trouble. The sales executives were saying, yeah, we are having trouble with these, people handling these objections. Hey, Dean, welcome. And
What up?
so they went out and followed the sales representatives on the sales calls, and what they found is that they went with the top performers and the not so top performers, and started just kind of monitoring how they were interacting with the customers. And mind you, this customer sold, I don't know if it was Honeywell or BP or, so a really large name, was selling a lot, a higher end, big ticket items, right?
Product, yeah.
So so when they would go on these sales calls, what they found is that the sales consultants were actually creating these objections, not the buyer. And so what it ended up being is that they didn't have an objection handling problem. They had an objection prevention problem. And so that led me into this kind of taking what I learned there, is that, hey, if you're just trying, they could have put together a training program on how to handle objections better, but that was just a symptom. That was a symptom of the sales team not being able to prevent those objections in the first place to be able to get the sale. Okay, and I know it's very salesy or whatever, but the how to take that and bring it into what we've been talking about, right? Is we've been talking about goal setting and setbacks. Now, yesterday we talked about setbacks. It was a good show, and really, when you have setbacks, there can be hidden in there, right, a symptom of an underlying cause. Whether that is your surroundings, yourself, something you're doing, something you're not doing. Sure. There are different things, and so when you can step back and kind of look at the system as a whole, you can isolate those specific systems of failure so that you can figure out and kind of hack the system and eradicate that out.
That's very interesting. I have not read the book yet. I'm gonna move on to that, and I'm reading Dale Carnegie. By the way, reading so important for personal development. Like, just it might be said to you over and over and over again, the same kind of concept, but when it's said in a way that really makes you think, it changes your perspective, even of the day, of just everything. So a lot of the concepts we get and a lot of the topics that we approach are from reading. And I haven't read this book, so that's kind of interesting. And
yes,
it's interesting to put it into the framework of our daily habits. Because what you say is when for example, when you're overeating or something like that, you know what I mean? You look at you fix the cause. Might be that you're emotional, or that something's going on that is stressing you out. Yeah. But the symptom might be that you're just eating. Right. So you say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all of the junk food in my house. Well, guess what? That doesn't work. And it might work for a short period of time, but it's all in the willpower. And when your willpower overrides that, then the first thing you do is make that trip to the store, because you have those resources. And you can do that. So that right there is an example of fixing a symptom instead of fixing the actual cause. If you fix the actual cause of the overeating, then you can be surrounded by junk food and not be tempted once.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, personally myself, I have, within the last 10 days, began running more. And so...
A lot more.
A lot more. Hey, Sandra. And so and this isn't like the first time I've started running. In fact, I downloaded an app about 8 months ago, 6 to 8 months ago, right? It's on my phone, and it comes it gives the ability to set like programs, goals and stuff like that. So this training program, I didn't have the aspiration to do this. It was just like, okay, I could see myself doing this, which I picked the one for a half marathon. Again, I had no plans to do a half marathon. So I set the goal, the destination. That run day was actually in 2 days, the 26th of January. So, back ago. And I was like, that seems like a good enough time from now. So there were about 32 or 36 runs. It was a run every other day.
I'm going to stop you right there. If you feel like someone else will benefit from this information about, just kind of noticing the systems of failure in your life, or the systems that you're going through and the ways to fix it, please go ahead and share this video. Everybody could benefit from this.
Yes.
So with that, I'll go ahead and let you.
Yes, thank you. So when I first started running, I would run one day, rest just as it said the next day, and would run the following day. I did that pretty good for about the first 2 weeks, and then, as I'm sure no one here has experienced, life happens, right? So
3 kids.
yeah, give some thumbs up for life happening. And so life happened, right? And, there were some personal things that happened at that time. There were some obviously emotional things. So I started just blaming away the reason why I didn't need to be running. Oh, well, this is happening, and that's happening. Basically I was pushing the blame onto other things on why I wasn't running. Well, I'm not running because, this happened, or, it was raining, in the morning, or I slept in, so
you were blaming all of the symptoms.
Yes.
Of your lack of motivation.
For the lack of motivation, exactly. Until 10 days ago, I finished reading the book by Grant Cardone, 10X, right? And so that book kind of was like, hey, it's going to take 10 times as much, no matter what the goal is, it's going to take 10 times as much activity than you think and anticipate. So set the goal high, because if you, miss it a little bit, that's better than missing just below average, because either way, it's going to take more work, right? Yeah. So I was like, came back again with this running. It's like, okay, for health reasons, I need to be healthier, right? So, which kind of seems obvious. Now that I say that, now that I hear myself say that, yeah.
It's all good.
So what I did is I just said, okay, tomorrow I'm running. So the first day I ran 4 miles. Now, I know for some people are like, oh my goodness, that's a lot. And you're right, it is. So again, I'm a runner. I like to run. So, but, and I do run twice a year with the Navy, but, 1.5 miles. And, but at either rate, so I just said, you know what, I'm just going to start running again. So I ran one day, and then I said, you know what, I'm going to run again. I'm just going to keep running every day. Every day. I know surely one of these days I'm not going to be exactly. One of these days I'm not going to be able to run. But I'm just going to keep going. Just keep going. There's no rest days. Just keep pushing. So 10 days later, I have run
You ran every day, haven't you? I think you
Almost
missed
every
one
day. I think I missed twice. I missed yesterday because it was raining.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day there wasn't an opportunity. But even the previous day, even though I slept in, I then fit in a run in the afternoon. I like running in the morning, but I fit it in the afternoon when all the weather channels were like, tornadoes are coming. I was like, I'm going to go for a run.
Yeah.
And so...
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It was. So when I was, a few months ago trying to just blame away why I wasn't accomplishing those goals and saying, well, if I could just get, like 26 hours in the day, I'd be able to do it. But the problem wasn't the time in the day. Mm-hmm. It was me. It was my giving priority to that goal, mm-hmm. Or lack thereof in this case. And so I had a system of failure that I would run, take a break, run, take a break. When something happens, I would blame it on everything else and excuse my lack of effort on something else.
Yes.
But it really wasn't something else. It was nothing else. It was me. It was my system of failure.
And a lot of times when that happens, when that happens, we make up symptoms. We make up
mm-hmm.
symptoms. So, like, things that we inflate to fit our purpose. Like, I'm talking about, like, I think one of the excuses where the kids are up and I'm sleeping. But if the kids are up and I'm sleeping, he can't go running. Well, since he started running, the kids have just hung out and watched cartoons and whatever. So that symptom was a creation of his, you know? So you don't even realize it. But just think about that. Think about a specific thing that you're trying to accomplish and something that's getting in the way, something you keep blaming your progress or lack of progress on, and see if it's a construction of your own. See if you're blowing it up more than it really is. Mm-hmm. And a big thing, like you said, the way to handle that self-objection, if you will, is to just do it. Think about that one thing that's in your mind that you just keep pushing off because of this or that or this, and there's so many excuses. There are plenty of excuses not to get something done. I mean, we're pretty creative. Human beings are pretty creative and, in procrastination, in the art form of procrastination. But just think of that one thing. Write it down right now, something that's just been eating at you, and you keep thinking about it, but just, pushing it away, or thinking about it and saying, well, I can't do that because I don't have A, B, and C. Those things, write it down right now. The first thing that pops in your head. Yep. And either, if it's possible, do it right now, or put it on your phone or your to-do list or whatever you have available to you, even that piece of paper right next to you. So in the morning, that is the first thing you crush. You will feel so much better. Because that one thing was just like, in the back of your head. And it feels like a constant failure. Because you feel like you can't attain it or obtain it. You feel like you can't, start with 1%. Start with 0.01.
Yeah. That means that
thing that pops
10% of your life is motivated. That's good. That's good.
Learn from that 10%.
Gotta start somewhere. Gotta start somewhere.
Start copying it.
But like with any goal, again, as we were saying a few days ago, there's two main ingredients in there. Mm-hmm. One is, we talked about, is haters, and if you don't know what those are, how to handle those, please watch our video on that. And the other one is failure. You're going to have failure. Like, you need both of those in order to be successful, among other things, massive action and all these kind of things, right? But the two things that you're going to encounter are, one of which is failure. Because if your goals are set high enough, you're going to just be out of reach of them. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. You're going to keep pressing forward. You
want to be out of reach. Yeah, absolutely.
So Nathan, if it's 90% of your life, get 1% back.
Yes.
Like this week, work on getting to 89%
Yep.
of your life.
And
that's it.
11% motivation.
Yeah.
It's baby steps.
One percentage at a time. Half a percentage, like you
There are
say.
no overnight successes.
No.
There's no such thing. You can look at the most successful people. You can, like, even the entrepreneurs that we're bringing on this show, they will tell you that it was not an overnight success.
Yep.
They will tell you that, and the thing is, like, there is a middle ground. You don't have to be a super multimillionaire. Of course, everyone goes for that when they want to be, an entrepreneur and everything like that. They think of, the heavy hitters in that they see all over their social media, and that's a whole nother subject. But there is a middle ground where it's not, all life consuming and everything like that. And you can sustain a life off of the passion that you have for whatever avenue that you want. Nathan said this has already been really insightful.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Nathan.
You're welcome.
That's why we do.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if this
That's
concept of symptoms and systems of failure, if it's really resonating, it's like making sense, give us some
Carl
thumbs
likes
up.
the thumbs up.
I like the thumbs
He's a
up.
fan of the thumbs
It shows,
up. I like the
it's
hearts.
it's kind of like you're here. You're like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You can put that in the comments too, right? But no, I mean, that's really what that's how you
thumbs
can
up.
really. I wasn't even paying attention. It's all right.
You wasted the good thumbs up on you.
Oh, by the way, I appreciate you pointing at me when you said multimillionaire. I was like, okay, great. I just don't have access to it yet. I am, but I just don't have access to it. Working on it.
We're getting it.
So, set your goals high, right? Set them high. So when you have these systems of failure, right, remember, is that usually, especially when we're talking about emotional hijacking, we kind of didn't say that term, but we are alluding to it. When something happens and you're looking at the symptoms, you get emotionally hijacked of those symptoms, right? We typically don't like to get too deep into ourselves to extract what am I doing that's causing this problem? Because it's just easier to say, it happened because of this, and even a radical way of thinking about it is, it's from the 10X book. They were talking about the fact of if you're at a stoplight and somebody hits the back of your car, right? So clearly, by law, right, they're at fault. They're going to get a ticket, right? But the thought of it is, if you have this concept that you have the power to change things, or what would have happened if you were 2 minutes later leaving the house, or 2 minutes earlier, or in his case, because he travels, he sells training, and it says, what if you're just a big enough name that the clients come to you? You don't even have to drive there, right? So, so that saying is that there are these things that if you're pushing, you can be past that and don't get caught up in victim blaming, right? Which can be a symptom of what's really going on outside of the accident. But I'm talking about just in general, like with me, with running, I was a victim because it was raining and our kids and our, I slept too long. So, now whether I sleep too long or not, I'm fitting in a run.
He's running,
yeah. So, and if it doesn't work out, then that's fine. Tomorrow I'm running, Yeah. And so it's just building up a quantity. Just keep building it up. Not necessarily quality even at first. It's just a matter of repetition.
Yes.
Which builds that habit.
Yes, definitely. And that mindset, of course, from yesterday we were talking about with setbacks.
Mm-hmm.
If you do miss, a day, or you have a bad day, or, a sale didn't go as you wanted it to, or maybe a conversation didn't go as well as you were thinking it would, just think of that as fuel to get to the next stop. Because that's kind of part of the system of failure as well, is kind of getting caught up in those setbacks and not being able to move past that. Or even better, even more common, is assigning that failure to the worth of yourself. Now think about it. Whenever you try to do something, or I mean, this is our second business, so we've already had a business and we've closed a business, and it's so easy to take, especially something like a business where you're pouring everything into it to make it work. You're pouring everything. We got some thumbs up there.
Yeah, and shares. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Share the love. But where was I?
Company.
Company,
Second
yes.
company.
Yes.
Second company.
It would be so easy for us to then say, okay, because we had our third child and we were like, we can't keep up this kind of 14-hour days and also give time to our children. So we decided to go with our children over the company. So we closed it. We could have so easily said that, man, we just can't handle owning a company. It's just not for us. It's just or that we failed in some way, or we didn't do something that, trust me, there's a lot of when we think about the company and say, if we knew now what we knew then, but at the same time, we don't assign that company's closure to our self-worth.
Right.
It's not. It's something we tried. If it fails, if it succeeds or fails, it has nothing to do with who we are, how smart we are, how adaptive we are, how, and that's the kind of mindset you have to have, especially if you are working towards something bigger. If you are working toward, and maybe you fail one day, but it's only a day. It's only one thing. It's the ability to push back past that. It's the ability to keep that grit, really. Yeah. And continue trying different ways until you succeed that goal. Until you succeed. And get to that goal.
Yeah, I mean, there's many different ways to be successful.
It's hot in here.
Right? Yes, the lights.
It's getting hot in here.
So, for instance, if you're trying to start your own business, okay, but you already have a full-time job, okay, or your full-time job goes away, and you're like, okay, I should start my own business, right? So you start your own business and realize, whoa, it takes a lot to start a business. A lot of time, a lot of energy, money, effort, people, connections, networking. Sure. You get the gist, right? But if I, have to, or you have to get an additional job or something like that, don't necessarily look at that as a failure. Mm-hmm. That's just the avenue that you have to take to get to that ultimate goal.
Yes. So
just for now, it'd be great if Tampa Electric, Tico, would be like, oh, you have big plans? Okay, we'll put your bill on pause, right?
Check the box for big plans.
Yeah, cash, check, credit card, or big goals. Okay, I've got big goals. I've got big plans, Tico. So, right? That'd be awesome, right? Also, I think that would be great.
Start a petition.
That's a good method. That's a good method of payment, right? That reminds me of Dumb and Dumber, right? The IOUs in the suitcase. I don't know if you've seen that movie, right? IOUs. That's a good one. For a Lamborghini, that's a good IOU there. Anyway, so now, okay, we'll bring it back. A little tangent there. But whatever has to happen, right? So if you have to take, that left turn, to do an internship or a job or something like that, that's fine. Like, do that, provide for your family or provide for what Russell just watched it. Awesome.
Nice.
So,
We need to do that.
been find whatever works for you. Okay, that you're still going to be providing for your family and still getting sleep. Okay, that's important. Don't think that, okay, I'm going to work 60 hours or I'm going to work 16 hours a day, and then when I'm big, I'm just going to bring it down to 8. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. If you don't set those habits now, you're never going to give yourself permission to stop working less.
Absolutely.
So instead, what you need to do is engineer the time that you have, because I guarantee you, like we're talking about systems of failure, you're like, oh, I don't have enough time in the day. That's a symptom. Figure out that system of failure that's preventing you from getting what you need to get done in the 8 hours that you have, or whatever amount of time you have during the day, to be able to get the amount of sleep that you need.
Yes.
Because it decreases IQ that we talked about before, and there's different things
all kinds of
that affects the body. So
we can do a whole show on that. Actually,
we absolutely could. We could do that tomorrow on sleep.
I don't know about tomorrow.
Okay,
We'll
won't
see.
do it on sleep.
We'll see.
Tomorrow, but
Trying to stay with theming.
We'll do a show on sleep deprivation and why it's important to not be sleep deprived to get to your goals. But that's for the future. And what's also for the future is your success, our success, because, again, when you can isolate those systems of failure, not blame it on the symptoms, stop being a victim, right, and go out there and crush those goals, we're going to do it.
Absolutely. And, we sit here and we talk every night to you guys and everything, and we would love to hear some of the stories of maybe how, what we've said you've been able to put into your daily routine, or it inspired you to do something different or anything like that. We would love that feedback, because, let's face it, we're hanging out with you guys.
Yeah.
We're telling everything we have to tell.
Yeah.
We would love to hear back from you. And at that point, we will remind you that we have a segment coming up on Fridays. It's to, I think we had, what was Tom's suggestion? Local Spotlight, or?
Yeah, Local Spotlight.
Local Spotlight Fridays. So we kind of need a catchy title, and we thought it would be really cool to poll our audience, because you guys, of course, are
the best.
So let's go ahead and hear some of those ideas. Yay!
That's great.
Well, we enjoy you being here.
Yes.
10,000%. It's awesome.
Yes. So yes, again, we're looking for a name. Submit it in the comments. We're going to collect them, and then we will put it together. We'll be putting more than just. We'll be putting some ads out as well, some advertisement to get more interaction and get some more people submitting names, because we want this show to be kind of your creation. That's this segment. And so again, we're already booked into the middle of February, I believe, with entrepreneurs. So we've got a lot of them on deck, and you're going to enjoy them.
But if you know anyone,
oh yes,
or if you are yourself someone who came up with a unique product, or started your own business and worked it your own original way, really, and just really tried to crush that goal and became successful with it, whatever your definition of success is, we would love to hear it. We would love to spotlight you and have you on our show.
Yes.
So
absolutely. Well, with that, we will see you here again tomorrow at 9 p.m.
Yes.
Thank you again for hanging out with us. You guys are the best. And with that,
good night.
Good night.